Welcome to Writing in the Real World. In this season of Writing in the Real World, I'm interviewing guests in a variety of professions to find out what kind of writing is required for the jobs you'd love to have. In this episode, I'll be talking with mortgage broker Andrea Glover, and by the end, you'll know exactly what communication skills matter most and 3 things you can do to improve your writing skills today. Andrea Glover is the owner and associate mortgage broker of DLC CME Heartland West Mortgages. She's been in the mortgage industry for over 12 years and loves her career. Although she enjoys the math involved with getting people their dream homes, she's also had to develop her writing skills. She estimates that 95% of her communication is by email. In this episode, she'll share the 3 writing skills that have made the biggest difference in her business. Without further ado, let's see what Andrea has to say about writing in the real world. As I was looking at your LinkedIn profile and seeing, looked at the different things that you've done, and it's interesting. Like, it's not a straight
No.
straight trajectory, right? So I would like, if you're open to it, I would like to kind of highlight that.
Sure.
It's not just a straight thing. So as we get started, I am curious, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about how you got to be a mortgage broker? Like, why did
Yeah, because I have had a lot of different career backgrounds. I licensed in 2008, and for the 3 years prior to that, I was not working. I was staying home with our 3 young daughters. And prior to that, I had owned Curves in High River, which is interesting. So anyway, we bought some land west of Nanton. Both my husband and myself have always been self-employed, and we did a self-build on this land. So that was a very big challenge that we faced a lot of no's, but we weren't willing to take no for an answer, and we wanted to do whatever it took to get our dream place fulfilled and built to raise our daughters on. And so, we reached out to lots of different lenders, and nobody wanted to finance 2 self-employed people building on an acreage west of Nanton that they thought was in the middle of nowhere. So I ended up finding a mortgage broker who is now my business partner, Ruth. And back then, thank goodness, it was a little bit easier for self-employed people to get mortgages than it is nowadays. So she worked some magic for us, basically, and put our mortgage in place and allowed us to build on this land, where we still live now. And I wouldn't change it for the world. So that's what got me into it, because I had a huge interest in it. I actually, interestingly, my very first year of university, I went to U of C, and I was in business, and I wanted to be a chartered accountant. That was where I originally started. So numbers has always been my thing. And so when I was working with Ruth, she's like, well, you basically just underwrote your whole file because I was online doing mortgage calculators and all sorts of things. And so I thought, wow, maybe this is something, my next step in my career, because it really interested me. And it also allowed me to stay home with our girls. I did make some phone calls in closets and right out in the garage to step away from kids and everything else. But it fit my lifestyle, and I loved it. So that's how that all started.
Wow. Who knew? So it was sort of out of necessity, because you had a goal and you weren't going to take no. And you're like, well, I struggled so much with this. So now what? Maybe I can help other people as they're
Yeah, exactly. Because
Therapy?
I realized, working, because it was not the first time we'd worked with a mortgage broker, but it was the first time I had worked with Ruth. And I found that she took it to the next level. She educated us and basically put us in the driver's seat to say, not just like, here's the rate, here's the product, sign here. She gave us all of the information that we needed and allowed us to make the decision that best suited our family goals and financial needs. And so I felt like I could pass that on to other people, because I've always felt, we'd gone into banks before and there's so many things they don't tell you that I think they should tell you. Right. And so I felt kind of empowered that I could do that, and I could help people that where the bank told them no. Right. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned briefly that you came from, I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. So you did business school, so that was interesting. You thought you might be a chartered accountant. And then you ended up owning Curves, which is like a women's fitness gym. So how did that?
Yeah. Well, I only did 1 year at U of C in business, and I hated it because I came from, truthfully, I hated it just mainly because I grew up in High River, graduated from Senator Riley High School, 90 people in my graduating class. And then I went to U of C and I was in an auditorium of 500 people and I didn't like it. So I took a year off, and a good friend of mine at the time, I was into exercise and running and fitness, and a good friend of mine, we got talking and she let me know she was going to take athletic therapy at Mount Royal College. And so that really piqued my interest. So I thought, well, let's take that. And so her and I were roommates. And so we lived together and we studied together and we did really, really well. And this was back in between 93 and 95. And the whole goal was for me to transfer back to U of C and finish my degree. Because John was rodeoing at the time, and the sports medicine team was Dexter Nelson and Dale Butterwick, and Dale taught at U of C and Dexter taught at Mount Royal. So I felt even better education at Mount Royal because we were in a class of 20 people, right? So my goal was do 2 years at Mount Royal, transfer back to U of C and get my degree in athletic therapy. And I got my diploma in 1995, and they made all the cutbacks in healthcare that year. And they were in the process also of getting degree granting status at Mount Royal for that program, and that fell through. And then little did I know, all my courses I'd taken at Mount Royal did not transfer back to U of C.
Oh no.
So it was disappointing, but a second part of my work life was, so that was 95. I was waitressing. Here I was 3 years of, college, university, and I was still waitressing. But I actually had always wanted to be a flight attendant. And so I got on with WestJet in their very early stages. They started flying in 1996, and I started as a flight attendant with them in 97.
Okay.
So that taught me a lot about business working for WestJet, because they are an amazing company. They empowered their employees and, taught me a lot about how to run a business. So that went on for 3 years. And then in 2000, right before I was about to get married, in the High River Times was an ad about Curves for Women, looking for someone to buy the franchise and open that business. So it actually brought everything together for me, because I had the business part and I had the athletic therapy part. So I didn't give it a second thought. And that was August of 2000. We got married September 2000. I was in Waco, Texas for 2 weeks of training in October of 2000. And I opened Curves November 27th that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and it was great. I loved every second of it. And I truly could put all of the schooling that I had came together.
Right.
So I did that. And in 2002, Kaylin was born. 2003, Keely was born. In the midst of it all, we bought our land. So I sold Curves in 2005. And then fast forward to 2008 when I licensed as a mortgage broker, which our goal when we had kids was for me to stay home. So that truly allowed me to do that. So kind of a weird path, but yeah, they do. Yeah, they do in a way. It sounds funny when you're kind of saying it out loud, but yeah, they all have come together for sure. So yeah.
So what kind of communication skills are involved? So as, I mean, a flight attendant for WestJet, I imagine, I don't know about written communication skills, but I've been on a few flights and, you have to talk to people in certain ways so that they do what you tell them to do.
Yeah, for sure. And we had to, do all the announcements, onboard announcements. We did have to do some communication if we ever had it was called incident report form, when crazy things happened on the flights, which they did, we would have to fill out, a lot of paperwork and that sort of thing. Not even just that, but daily paperwork that we had to fill out. Yeah. And communicating with the guests on board, when we had turbulence and trying to keep people calm. And, if we had a mechanical or we had a weather delay or, it was, tone of voice and choosing your words to keep everyone calm. So for sure.
And I bet that actually comes in handy dealing with your mortgages. Getting a mortgage can be kind of a stressful time.
Yeah.
And I imagine that calm tone of voice that you use when you're experiencing turbulence up in the air has come in handy when you are experience turbulence in the mortgage process, because it's not always, I mean, as you mentioned, your first experience trying to get this land, both, self-employed, lots of turbulence, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I imagine that's the same with other people. Have you made any, I don't know if you're willing to share any bloopers, but anything where you, early on in your career, where you communicated in such a way that you, looking back, you go, oh, okay, I've learned from that. I can do different moving forward.
Well, I mean, there's always the autocorrect. Right. I mean, I would say that's more now than say back at the beginning of my career, because I do text a lot with my clients, not typically with lenders, but autocorrect is, definitely not the best. I would say, I guess I don't necessarily have a blooper that stands out, but I've definitely progressed over the last 12 or 13 years from, say, original emails I would have sent to one that I send now. And I try to be as clear and concise as possible without not using too many words. Right. And because, like you say, most of my clients, I mean, that's even the language that we use. I'm used to it, but they might not be used to it. Most people aren't, right? So I have to definitely take that into consideration when choosing my words. And I've taken a few courses, over the years. There's one fella in the industry that's all he does now. He doesn't even actually actively work as a mortgage broker. He just teaches courses. And one of the most important things I've taken from his training was to read or reread an email 3 times before hitting send. And that is good advice, because definitely in this industry, especially when it's a purchase involved, time is always of the essence. And for the most part, I try to be as quick responding and effective as possible. But on the other hand, I'm also waiting for other people to respond to me, right? So I sometimes catch myself getting in a big hurry when I finally get an email that comes in I've been waiting for to reply to it. But then I, have to remind myself to slow down and make sure that, because once it's gone, right?
Yeah.
Once you hit send, it's not coming back. So just, I guess, choosing your words really carefully.
Mm-hmm.
And also not to create panic, or fear in people, and, assure them that things are moving as they are to be moving, even though it feels sometimes that it's slow process.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the process on your end, and you're confident, or what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
But then finding the right words to convey that.
Yeah.
When it's there, who knows how many mortgages you've put together, and it might be there first, right? And so, like you said, they're reading that language for the first time.
Yeah.
And going, should I panic about this, or?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
not?
Exactly.
So what does a day look like for you? So if somebody were thinking, hey, I like business stuff. I think I could manage this communication stuff. But what is it actually like? What does your day look like?
I would say 95% at least of my communication with lenders and with clients is written, is email. And so my day usually, always starts, the first thing I do is open all my emails and, prioritize, I guess, what needs to be answered first. If nothing else, another thing I've learned, because it means a lot to me, is I like to at least acknowledge receipt, even if I don't have a reply or an answer. Because you know how it is with technology, things get lost, and emails don't always come through, or, I use Outlook, and I know for some people, my email, the odd time, will go to their junk. And right. And so things like that. So I like to, from my end, say, I acknowledge receipt of your email. I will, get back to you by the end of the day, or whatever. So I usually just start my day like that, get the girls off to school, and then, go back. And then typically what happens for me is I have all my emails sent out, deals submitted, whatever I need to do. And then I'm waiting for people to get back to me. So then I usually go for my run.
Right.
And the best part of my job is I take my phone, and if my phone rings, if I get a text, I can hear a ding. If I get an email, I just stop and pause my watch and reply as I need to. I guess that's the bonus of being self-employed and, in technology and being mobile nowadays, which I think, one of the real positive things that's come out of this last year is we are all truly mobile. And, if you just embrace it and learn it,
Right.
it can actually buy you a lot more time in your day, right? Because typically, I would meet with a lender, like this lender this week, this lender next week. I don't have to jump in my car and drive to the office. And because I do have an office, I work at Century 21 in High River, and I do like to go in there a couple times a week, but I don't have to, right? And so now we do a lot of just Zoom calls, and it works. So
well, and I think people are okay with that now in a way that maybe they weren't even a couple of years ago.
mm-hmm.
Like you said, you're on a run and you stop to take a call, and that's pretty normal. Like, it doesn't seem strange that somebody would be in the middle of doing something else,
right,
and taking a call. Whereas maybe a couple of years back, we still would expect a mortgage broker to be at the desk,
right,
and answering the phone. And so the idea of professional seems to be different. Like you're still giving professional service, whether you're stopping by the side of the road to answer an
Yeah.
email or take a call, or whether you're sitting at your desk. It's the whole experience and your availability to
Yeah.
your client.
I mean, I feel like it's better to answer my
Mhm.
call then than not at all.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and I'm
Yeah.
sure the people that are getting the mortgage appreciate that too,
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, you like to respond to emails that you get, even if you don't have an answer. I think that's a big thing. And
Mm-hmm.
95% of communication by email, that's huge.
You know,
That's a lot of
especially between lenders, especially like, I mean, definitely I talk to my clients on the phone way, way, way more than I speak with a lender. Like I do have certain underwriters, they don't even answer their phone.
Oh,
It's
wow.
it's all email because they have a workflow, and I can't say because I've never been an underwriter from the other end, but
Right.
they have a workflow and they answer them in priority sequence, and it's based on closing date, it's based on condition of financing date. So to add answering a call, and whereas time as well, you can reply to an email much quicker than, by the time you have your little, how are you? How's your day? Right.
Oh, yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah. So for the lenders, their preferred means of communication is email, or we have what are called portals. So
Okay.
a lot of the lenders, we submit a deal, it gets uploaded into the portal. I can log in and see it. And then I upload all the documents into that portal. And then I can see for the most part, when they've been viewed and signed off on, and if there's something missing, that's how they communicate.
So you really have to have a good understanding. I'm just thinking, so somebody coming into this profession, reading comprehension, big thing. There's lots of vocabulary, I'm sure,
Yeah.
around that whole lending field.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then being able to communicate your words clearly, succinctly, what you mean, so that otherwise your email would take forever, right? I
Yeah.
imagine you get sort of some template kind of standard, I get this kind of a question, this is the kind of answer I give.
Yeah, I mean, definitely when I first am introduced to a client and I'm sending them the online application and consent form, for the most part, I try to find out, what type of income they have, and then I can give them a clear email on what documents I will need them to send. So yeah, I do have I have a basic template, but I actually, customize it, I guess, for each
Right.
client, and, try to, typically I'll talk to them over the phone before I send that. So I try to, incorporate, and, speaking along that lines as well, just like you did with me,
Mm-hmm.
if I am going to meet with them or I am going to talk with them, I'll say, looking forward to meeting you on Tuesday at 1 p.m.
Right.
So,
Just as like a little trigger
yeah.
reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Now you said you had Ruth was sort of, would you consider her your mentor?
Yeah, she started as my mentor. She started as my, I don't know the word trainer, but basically she taught me everything she knew.
Right.
And then we ended up buying a brokerage together, her and I, as business partners, which led us into getting an office in Century 21, which has been a huge referral
Oh,
source for us, because the owner of Century 21 actually owned the franchise Centum, which was a sister company to Century 21. So Ruth and I bought in with Blair, and then that, changed down the road. And then we ended up switching and buying Dominion Lending Center's Canadian Mortgage Experts. And that's how we're Heartland West now, because Canadian Mortgage Experts is based out of BC, Surrey, BC.
Okay.
And so we're a sub-franchise of them, but
Oh,
they're the largest brokerage in Canada. So being a tiny brokerage that we are, with most lenders, you have to commit to sending a certain amount of volume to even be able to send a deal to them. So we were able to partner with CME and then have access to every lender at best rates. So we moved to CME in 2016. And that was a very, very good move. But by then, because we opened Centum in 2011, by then we'd already, secured kind of our space at Century 21 and our relationships with the realtors there, which isn't, we're not tied to Century 21, but we, have sort of the best of both worlds working out of that office, right? And
right.
yeah, and then I'm not a realtor, right? So sometimes if I'm working with another realtor, I'll say to one in our office, like, is this normal? Like,
Right.
is this
Right.
what I'm supposed to be looking for? So it's a good relationship.
So if somebody were, so can you work as a mortgage assistant, or do you jump right to like the mortgage broker and then you buy your own brokerage? Or
I
can
mean,
you have people
you
working?
could, yeah. Like a lot of the really, like Vancouver area, of course, is it's just totally different industry, obviously, and so I know some of those brokers that have got so busy that they need an assistant. Then yes, I'm sure there are some in Alberta. I don't know of any that actually have assistants.
Mhm.
So, it's something that I do have someone that is taking the course right now and interested in joining our brokerage when they're done.
Oh,
And so he has just come because he can do this, that he's taking the course. He's come and just job shadowed me
right.
at the office a few times. And, he's looked into his own mortgage and, he's had friends that know he's taking the course and have asked him questions and that sort of thing. So that's a good place to start. And then, what'll happen once he gets licensed is his, first multiple deals,
Right.
he and I will do together for the most part, right?
Right.
I'll be, walking him through, because it's no different than most industries where most of the learning you're going to do is once you're hands on.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like people can be realtors without being the broker?
Yes.
But when you're a mortgage specialist, then you are the broker?
No, so it's similar to that. So like a real estate office, there's the broker that manages the brokerage, and then there's the realtors that are licensed with that brokerage.
Yes.
So it's very similar with a mortgage brokerage as well. I just happen to be the broker
Right.
of our brokerage, but then I also act, most of my day is spent just typically being a mortgage associate.
Mortgage
Yeah.
associate. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the term. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this guy that is training, he's training to
Mhm.
become a mortgage associate, and that's where most people would start. Probably.
Yeah. And then, um, it's not something that you are going to go quit your job and jump in and do this. I guess that's where it is similar to, say, being a realtor. The
Right.
biggest challenge is getting clients, right?
Right.
Right. And having deals to work on, right? I mean,
Right.
this past 12 months have been very unique in the industry. We have somewhat of a flow where, January, February are quieter months. People aren't purchasing quite the same. And then come March and the good weather, and they call it spring market. So, people just get moving. They're thinking of buying, selling. It's easy to look at properties. Properties look nice, with their yards all done.
Right.
And then, coming into September, it'll slow down a little bit. I mean, interestingly enough, this year, December Like I typically don't have 5 people taking possession in December, right? But it just was what it was. We had no spring market in 2020. So there was a big shift. And then now what's happening, actually, I'm really quiet right now because in High River, for example, there's no houses for sale. There's no product. So the realtors have clients. I have clients, but there's nothing for them to buy. So,
crazy.
So anyway, that's a big challenge. I mean, it's a challenge for me, to be honest.
Right.
You know, just to keep your phone ringing. I mean, my best success is referrals, and that is how most of my clients come to me. And those are the clients that I actually want, because, you know, typically people that say have, you know, just Googled and just randomly called,
Right.
you know, don't know me, didn't have someone say, yeah, I'd try give her a call because I had a good experience. They're usually tire kickers. They just want to know what the rate is. And to me, it's not even about the rate, right? It's about so much more. And usually those are the ones that we never see an end, you know, like
Right.
I may spend a lot of time because I only get paid. It's all commission based. So I get paid only when a deal closes, right? 2 or 3, 4 weeks after possession, I get paid. So I'm highly motivated, you know, to provide really good service and, you know, put the clients into the proper product for them and, you know, walk them through the whole process so that the deal does close, right? You know, as it's meant to. Because that's the only way I get paid.
Because otherwise you're doing all this work and then it falls through and then you've done all the work, right? So is there any anything that you would say to people as far as written communication skills that, you know, if you can nail this one thing, it will make the biggest difference? I know there's probably a bunch of things, but is there one thing that if you were looking to hire somebody or looking to bring somebody into your brokerage, you would say, I'm looking for you to have this communication skill because it will, you know, help you secure clients, help your deals flow better, help you get paid faster. You'll keep it.
Well, I mean, definitely choosing your words very carefully, but on a positive, way, you know, a positive tone. And I mean, to me, and I am guaranteed I've done this 100 times, but like grammatically correct and spelling, and you know, I've been using Grammarly lately. To me, for myself, and also for somebody, say that we're joining our team, to me that's very important. That you know, you have a sense of how it works and how proper communication does work, right? And that you can put it on paper and it looks professional.
Right. Well, I think there's a sense of credibility, right? When you receive an email and it's grammatically, like, you don't notice the email, you just notice the information, as opposed to you get an email and the first thing, your eyes are just drawn to the
well, and you especially. Right.
It's kind of terrifying, everything, you know, when you said read everything 3 times before you send it out. And even then, you know, errors slip through and it's mortifying because, of course, then you see it, you know, you go back and,
you're like, really? Like, why did I do that?
How did I miss that? I bug other people about that.
Exactly. So yeah, and for me, like I said, it's slowing down because this type of industry, when the pressure's on, it's on. And
Right.
it can get pretty intense. And there's so many moving pieces, and there's so many pieces that are out of my control, right? So I have to, I at least take control of what I can and, do it properly. Try
Well,
to.
and I imagine make sure that those details are correct the first time, so that,
Hmm.
because if you're
Yeah,
relying
because,
on a bunch of people, right, and you have the details wrong, then
well, that's right. And you know what? I mean, depending on, the workflow of the underwriter, I might not get a response to an email for 24 hours.
right,
And if what I sent the first time is incorrect, we're restarting the watch again,
right.
right? And most often time is not on our side,
Right.
So yeah, doing it right the first time is good advice for myself. Right. Yeah.
So where does somebody start with becoming a mortgage broker? Like, what is if they
There's
were?
an online course
Oh,
now.
okay. Hmm.
Yeah, when I took it in 2008, it was all paper based in
Right.
books. And I went down to Lethbridge College and physically wrote the exams. But um, I'm not super familiar with it, just with the associate that's going to be
Right.
licensed with us. So I've been able to see. So it's a 2 or 3 part process now. And it is all online. The final course, I know you still do have to go in.
Mm,
And it's probably online, but you just are supervised, I'm guessing,
right.
is how that works. So he's working full time at another job, and he started, I want to say maybe September, and he's expecting to be done um, the end of this month
Oh, okay.
or in February.
Mhm.
So yeah, and actually when I did it, um, True, our youngest daughter, was just 1, and so I kindly asked my mom to look after her, a couple of days a week, and I would spend 8 to 10 hours a day
Oh,
working on it. So I did it in about 2 months.
oh, wow.
Um, uh, back when it was kind of pen and paper, but the true learning is once you're on the job. So
Right.
I mean, for myself, and I think a lot of people, they start with their own mortgages, they start with their family, their
Right.
friends, refinances, right? Where
Oh,
time, so a purchase, there's always the condition of financing date and home
right.
inspection and possession. Whereas a refinance, you know, it's not super time sensitive. So that's
Mhm.
usually the first place that you end up starting, and you have time to really think about it. Because when a deal comes to me, most of my time, once I put the deal together and have underwritten it myself and looked at all the documents, um, I spend the most time deciding which lender I'm going to send it to,
Right.
because which one has the product that fits. Um, there's so much involved with, making those decisions. So if you are doing a refinance, you have more time to, you know, put into that. Because same thing, once you send a deal to a lender, we have to put notes into the deal. So there's another really, really important part of my job is selling. Like I feel like a lawyer sometimes, right? Like I'm selling my clients and my deal to that lender, because for the most
Right.
part, well, there's no straightforward black and white deal. There's
Right.
something weird usually going on. So whether there's a credit issue, whether the ratios are very tight, where the down payment is coming from, I have to make it sound like the best deal that this lender has ever seen, even though it might not be, right? So that is what, and I'll say to Ruth, okay, I've put this deal together. Can you read my notes and tell me what you think, what your impression is? And she'll be like, yeah, I think it sounds great. Or she'll be like, well, I would change the wording of this because of whatever. So I might reread those 10 times, because once they're there, and the lender, most deals, a lot of deals are insured, so less than 20% down. So it not only gets approved by the lender, it has to get approved by the insurer. And from what I've taken from the underwriters, whatever notes we put in, that is seen by the insurer. They can't change that. So you have to be like, I've had underwriters say to me, can you just email that to me? Instead of formally putting that into the notes, because it's going to get seen by all. So
words matter.
Words matter.
They really matter.
They really matter.
Whether you get your dream home or not.
Yeah, and just having a story, like, maybe they did have a few late payments, but why did they have a few late payments? Life happens to everybody. And just explaining that, sometimes that's all that the lender's looking for, is just an explanation of some sort. But as much as you can pretty it up, right, the better.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. You have had an interesting career so from business school and WestJet and Curves, and now mortgage broker. But you are helping people every day, and it sounds like your words are getting people the dream homes that they want.
Yeah, and you know what, I that is my number one goal, is and I guess the biggest satisfaction I get from this job is a happy ending for people, getting them reaching their goals and helping them get there. So yeah.
So where can people find you?
We do have a website. It's heartland-s2e2. And then on there, probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is email or call or text me. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. We are on Facebook and Instagram. I'm actually not, I feel like, I guess I can only focus my time on so much, right? And I spend so much of my time on email. And actually Ruth's husband, Adam, he's our techie guy. So he helps us out a lot like that. But yeah, just go to our website, and that's an easy way to get a hold of us.
Now, are you only able to do mortgages in Alberta, all across Alberta, or in Canada, or how does that, can you do?
I can do them across Canada. We're licensed in Canada. And I definitely have done, I've done in BC, and I've done in Saskatchewan, and I've done in Ontario. For the most part, I do Alberta. And if there ever is a deal that I don't feel like I can give, the best service or information, say for a particular area or product, like I say, I'm a part of CME, so I have a huge resource of, very qualified people that could definitely help if I ever could not. But definitely I can do across Canada. And honestly, most of the lenders, often I'm dealing with an underwriter in Vancouver or Toronto, or, actually there's a lot in Calgary now.
Okay.
Yeah. And with most of my lenders, I have a designated underwriter. So a lot are in Calgary, but not necessarily. So, and then they understand those markets as well. So it's just sort of a team effort sometimes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today, sharing your story,
thank you,
your insights, and your joy of doing this for other people so that they can have their dream homes too.
Yeah.
And I hope it helps somebody else that
I do too. It was
might
fun.
be looking at this or thinking, even curious, like what's involved. Usually by the time you're involved with a mortgage broker, you're just stressed about, am I going to be able to move? And
Yeah.
not really thinking about all the work that you're doing on your end to, try to facilitate that transaction. So it may, gives people some awareness too.
Yeah.
And hopefully, anybody across Canada who is watching, go and find Andrea and she can get your next dream home. Well, I can't promise you that actually. However, she will do her best. I can promise you that. Thank you for joining me today for this interview with Andrea Glover. You can find Andrea at www.heartlandwest.ca, or why not give her a phone call, 403-652-9475. If you're looking for a mortgage, interested in learning more about mortgage brokering, give her a call. If you'd like help mastering the writing skills Andrea mentioned, sign up for the free 7-step Writing Jumpstart Kit. In this Jumpstart Kit, you'll find everything you need to walk you through the writing process, from deciding what to write to polished copy. You can go to summitwriting.net/WITR/WITR-S2E2 and get that free 7-step Writing Jumpstart Kit today. Until next time, keep writing in the real world.